Welcome back to the second segment of this week's Trips and Traps, and we're going to start out with a race where a horse obviously gets a trip, but both of us think she's probably a trap.
Both of us agreed that on the November 14th, race number 5, that the 9-horse Eliza's Gray would come back as a little bit of a trap next time out. Here we're going to see Eliza's Gray break from the gate under good order beneath apprentice Jackie Davis. We did this race on the Inside Racing Show, and here's Eliza's Gray just coming away from the gate cleanly in the outside in the bluish cap, the yellowish silks there. Now, what was kind of important about this race, though, Andy, was that the 2 horses down on the rail, Anaconda and Lazy Halo, both speed horses, both sprinters stretching out to a mile here. Right now, the number 9 Eliza's Gray is getting a perfect trip.
No question about it. I mean, the horses inside of her are not only extreme speeds, they're horses that have a lot of trouble holding their speed going 6 furlongs. Now they're both being asked to go a mile. Now, it'd be one thing if just one of them was in the race going the mile and able to set their own pace. Perhaps one of them could have made things interesting, and in that case, Eliza's Gray would have had to pay attention to that. But as you can see, they run off to a very, very fast pace in here. The half was 45-3, and Eliza's Gray, instead of sitting out in the clear on the outside on the wet track, ducks inside and guns up the lead at the half mile.
Yeah, basically, at this point here, there's a lot of distance between the front runners here and the back of the pack. So, maybe you're thinking, okay, well, she's trying to put some distance between, herself and the rest of the field in here, maybe try to blow out those 2 speed horses here. But actually, one of the speed horses is hanging tough, giving Eliza's Gray a hard time, just trying to get away from those horses here. And you will see eventually Eliza's Gray coming out a little bit at the top of the stretch. Don't know if it was the wet track or don't know if she's already a little bit tired at this point here, but certainly at this point the stage is set for horses to come from off the pace, and the question is, when will they come?
Right, and they're going to come, because not only are they going extremely fast, but take a look at Eliza's Gray. She is coming to almost a dead stop at this point, and the closers just start surrounding her. And a horse, in fact, the horse who's last in the picture ends up beating her for 3rd in there, horse that looked like it wasn't running at all at any point in the race, really. And Eliza's Gray, if she had just sat patiently and let the 2 horses, the speed horses, duel, and just waited until maybe the top of the stretch even to make her move, she would have gone to the lead, and she would have run a much different race and probably won. And there's no question she probably ran the best race in here. However, if she had won that race with the trip we're describing, she would have won it with a perfect trip.
Yeah, I agree. And also keep in mind that Eliza's Gray, some other things going on with this horse. There's been trainer change to Greg DePrima this day. Horse had been running in some non-winners of one allowances for trainer Peter Wall. There are some high percentages barns that Eliza's Gray's been in. Dropping in for 10,000. I thought she was a little suspect here, but probably the best. She was claimed out of that race by Gary Contessa. So, as opposed to, in addition, rather, to having that trip inside there where she moved prematurely here, you're going to have another reason why the horse might get bet. Contessa first off the claim.
No question. I think that she is just going to be every sort of trip handicapper's horse, and the problem is I don't really know where to take her next time out. She's not going to get the same kind of setup. So Eliza's Gray, a horse with a trip, but a horse in all likelihood I'm going to be looking to bet against next time it runs.
Next race we'll take a look at November 15th, race number 6, allowance optional claimer. Now one's a 2 other than. It's a good race in here. You had Rollers and Credit look like they might hook up on the front end here, and we're going to take a look at the start of the race now. And we're interested in the number 6 Megapixel. It actually breaks with the leaders in here in the blue about 3 wide in here, and you're going to see Rollers and Credit both run away from Megapixel early on here. But Megapixel at this point sitting a pretty good trip behind 2 leaders that are going to go pretty fast.
Yeah, and Megapixel's a horse that Eric and I talked about when he ran on New York Bred Showcase Day and finished an okay 4th. And not to say that we're going back on horses that we'd liked in the past, because frankly neither of us bet or picked Megapixel in this race, but it does feel like to me this horse has a subtle, tough trip in here. I felt that he just got kind of an indecisive ride.
Yeah, I mean, down inside here, you're thinking, okay, well, everything's going to work out fine as long as he gets some room either on the rail or maybe comes a path off the rail and goes outside the number 3 Rollers, but it just doesn't develop that way. The field kind of bunches up here as they come around the turn. The speed horses are maybe slowing up a little bit. Some of the other horses are making rallies outside, and you're going to see on the number 6 Megapixel. I think at this point in time, if he wanted, he could have gone through up on the rail, but didn't take that split-second decision and instead decided to go outside. The time it takes for Megapixel to go outside and try to find a lane, he loses about 2 lengths in this spot, and still, is trying to run on well, trying to split horses in between here, and we do see a Credit, the winner of this race, who loves a wet track, getting away from Rollers and going basically wire to wire here.
Yeah, I'm also beginning to wonder if Megapixel is a horse that really needs to be in the clear to do his best running. We saw the time before when he was hampered down the inside and things got tight. A lot of horses don't like to go through inside of horses, and he's between horses here. He found himself between horses the last time. Is maybe a horse that that needs that sort of clean outside trip. Now, you're asking a lot, and you're saying I can only bet him if he gets a perfect trip. But I think we still stay with the opinion that Megapixel is a little bit better than he looks on paper, and the right spot could easily win soon.
Yeah, he's a good horse. He's 4 for 12 after that race now, and it seems like there'll probably be some stakes races. He is a New York bred, so there'll be some stakes races throughout the winter that should suit him well. The next race we'll take a look at comes on the 16th. Race number 6 is Sunday. We're looking at a maiden special weight in here. The number 8 horse, Driven by Passion, does not get out of the gate cleanly, but we think everything goes well after this point.
No question. I mean, you see him break a little bit slowly there, and what happens, and we're not going to show the head-on, but if you'd watch the head-on, you'll see that the horse breaks a little bit slowly, maybe a quarter to a half length slow, but the door completely shut on him, and that's why he dropped back here. But after doing so, Abarcoa rides him, gives him an absolutely terrific ride, really the entire way in here. He's dropped over towards the inside, but he'll end up finding himself or herself on the rail inside and getting a very smooth trip after this.
Yeah, you see so many jockeys after a horse blows the brake, try to rush up to get in contention here. Abar is really patient. He is able to sit nicely here with Driven by Passion, save some ground down on the inside in here, and you do have a pace scenario here where it's, it seems like an honest pace. It's not too fast, 22 and 4, 46 and 4 were the fractions here, but we're going to see down on the inside still Driven by Passion really, continuing to have everything work her own way after that break, and we'll see Driven by Passion now switch to the outside here. Just more perfect race riding from Abarcoa. Doesn't want to get trapped up inside, says I'll take her outside at this point. She saved most of the ground on the turn already. We'll give her a fair shot in the stretch and see what she can do.
Yeah, and he gets her out in the clear absolutely here, and she really looks like a good chance she's going to win. Now, the horse inside of her, the gray horse in the orange silks, is the eventual winner of the race. The horse inside of her actually finishes second, and the truth is, Driven Passion hung a little bit at the end, but it was a first-time star going 7 furlongs, and you don't forget the horse did have some problems at the start. Now, she's still running on well here, and Chocolate Pop is the favorite and has a right to be an okay horse. In fact, this is a horse we had talked about in the past in the show. Now, I don't like the Driven by Passion. Looks like easily has second and hangs on the money and gets beat in the photo, but I still think this horse ran okay in here. However, all things considered, this horse had a very good trip.
Had a very good trip, and with the trouble at the start, I'm sure that'll be making its way into a lot of people's minds, and they'll be remembering that trouble at the start. This horse is going to get over bet, considering that there was, maybe a few 3, 4, 5 length gap at the start that this horse spotted out of the field. But you got to keep in mind, after that, everything went perfectly for Driven by Passion, and she couldn't seal a deal to close out the second place spot over Miss World.
Yeah, I agree, and that's something you have to think about with trips a lot. Horses are very rarely get absolutely clean and perfect trips. So just because a horse has a little trouble, if a lot of other things happen in the race that are very helpful to the horse, you have to put everything together. And I'd say all around, once again, Driven by Passion, a horse with a very good trip. That does it for this week's show. Appreciate everybody watching. And once again, the email address is trips@NYRAinc.com. Send the emails along. We showed a couple of races this week, actually, from emails we got. We could use all the help we can get, and we love hearing from you.
That's it for Trips and Traps. Thanks for watching, and good luck at the races, everyone.